Hello, everyone. I just wanted to do a little talk about the paranormal field in general as of 2016. And I did a similar talk like this, I believe it was 2014, but that was before I was going out on adventures and investigating a few really cool locations. And I've made a few steps along the way, and I just wanted to fill everyone in because this is not just going to my YouTube. This is also going to be going to my Facebook page, Virginia Paranormal Researcher, on Facebook, and it's also going to be going to my podcast Facebook page, which is Hour of Enlightenment. If you want to check those out, it'd be greatly appreciated. But last time I checked in with you all on my paranormal adventures, I had just pretty much assembled my kit together, a kit I still have and use frequently. I was taking a list of various locations that I wanted to check out, and a few of these locations I have visited. Most of them I actually haven't. In 2015, I did go back to school. I did a year of military school, so I went kind of extreme with it. But during that experience, I met a lot of cool people that told me various news stories, new haunted locations to check out. Uh, at the school that I went to, I'm not going to say the name of it for various reasons, but I did have a few interesting experiences there regarding possibly ghost soldiers, stuff like that. Just things like that. Things that did not make sense, very inexplicable. And it kept my mind sharp on the whole paranormal field, even as I was focusing on athletics, focusing on my studies, social life, all that stuff. And so on April 2nd, no, let's backtrack. This is just me going to be generally rambling for about 30 minutes. So back in November, shortly before Thanksgiving, I was contacted by a good friend of mine. And she said, "Hey, I'm starting this network. It's called the Vibe Radio Network. And we're going to have a bunch of podcast shows on the paranormal and other subjects. It'd be great to have you as a host." And so I'm thinking she's going to create a show. A few of her friends are going to create a show. I'm going to be a co host. No. The idea was I was going to have my own show. And I was like, what? I was just thrilled because I'm a very much a people person, and I love talking about the paranormal field, and I love talking with people about a subject that I am passionate about, whether it's the paranormal, talking about sports, history, cryptozoology, music, video games, movies, whatever it is. I just get very passionate about it. And so when I was approached with this, I was like, huh. So instantly the gears in my head started turning. So I accepted, and I'm still with them. It's been the most fun experience I've had with anything in my life, and these people are just super awesome. But on January 9th, believe it or not, it was my birthday. I went ahead and had my very first show, and for those of you who are listening to have heard my show before, you probably know that usually in the first 15 or so minutes, I'm very, very nervous. And I kind of stutter along a little bit, but usually after a while, I get warmed up. That's pretty much gone away now because, and it's not really nervousness. I'm not a very nervous person in public speaking. It's more of the excitement in my head just takes over. And as I'm trying to form words and sentences to speak, my brain's going about 1,000 miles an hour. So that's brief explanation of that. And so I started doing my show every Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I got to talk to some cool people. I actually did a demo of a show. I believe it was November 24th with Ron Moorhead, who is very famous for Bigfoot investigator. He recorded the Sierra Sounds. He's into the Nephilim giants, all that interesting stuff. But I got to him, and that was the very first interview I actually conducted. And so once again, me going from 0 to 1,000. So I interviewed him. That gave me a good test for November. I took the rest of November to hone my skills. I took December to hone in on my interviewing skills, my public speech skills. And in January 9th, I debuted my show. and I've got to talk to some really cool people. A lot of the shows I've done has been talking about um, like Civil War, about St. Albans Sanatorium, just different stuff like that. And that's stuff that I find very passionate. In my radio show, when I created it, I was like, you know what, this is a paranormal network. I mean, there's shows on our network that's not just paranormal. They might talk about other things. At one point, I believe there was a gaming show towards the beginning of the network. I was like, you know, what if you could combine history and the paranormal? Because I'm probably a bit more passionate about history than I am the paranormal, and that actually says a lot because I'm very passionate about the paranormal. But I decided there might be times where I do a full paranormal show. There might be times when I was going to do a historical show only. There might be times where I did a mix of both. And it has been really cool to see how over time I've tried different ways of integrating the paranormal with the history show and the history with the paranormal show. And it's gotten good and bad results. I'd say mainly good. It's a formula I'm going to keep going with. Even though most of my shows I actually went back and looked at today, most of them do tend to be paranormal cryptozoology. I do want to do a bit more historical shows just to get information that not a lot of people are privy to. Like, I'm not going to talk about Gettysburg, all that stuff every show. I'm going to talk about lesser known stuff like the Revolutionary War. I'm going to talk about Thomas Sumter, the South Carolina Gamecock, he played a vital role in gaining America's independence. And I'm going to talk about Francis Marion, talk about Daniel Morgan. On the British side, talk about people like Christian Huck, Bannister Tarleton. Then with the Civil War, talk about like Berdan sharpshooters who were very talented and very much helped snipers become a big part on the modern day battlefield. Um, Very just cool stuff like that. It's just cool. And I know I'm stuttering a bit, but my mind once again, 1,000. And so on April 2nd, I got the chance with the Vibe Network to be a guest at a public investigation at St. Albans. Now, mind you, it was 2016. I had still not done a full overnight investigation of a place. And I was like, you know, this could be cool. I had done one in 2014 with some good friends, Black Raven Paranormal, and that was tons of fun. But this was the first time at a huge, major named location, St. Albans Sanatorium in Radford, Virginia. And so I was pumped. And so I got off of school on Friday. I went upstairs, packed my equipment. I think I had about 1,000 batteries, at least 1,000 batteries packed, just in case anything went wrong. I had various cameras. I was just excited. I was like, this is cool. I get to finally meet the people in my network. I get to investigate St. Albans, a place that was actually very high on my list. And so I went there, and I actually got to have a taste of speaking in public in front of a bunch of people for a few minutes, and that was really cool. I love that. I want to do it again sometime. And the investigation, we got paired up. Me and my dad did. We went and we got paired up with these awesome tour guides. Awesome tour guides. And we had a crazy night. I got to go to the bowling alley, and I got to go to Rebecca's room, which is right by the suicide bathroom. And it was cool for me because I grew up when I was really young, as in kindergarten and first grade, watching the early seasons of Ghost Hunters, back when they would go and investigate the residential locations, and they rarely did the big name places, but um, it was always the little stuff. Is either residential locations or it was a small location I had never heard of, like what was that? There was a lighthouse. For the love of God, I cannot remember the name of it, but I had never heard of that place, and I was like, wow. And so the idea of investigating smaller locations was seeded back when I was in kindergarten. And so that's something I always wanted to do. I always wanted to investigate the smaller locations because sometimes, in my opinion, the smaller locations have the coolest stories. And it's not just going to a place like, let's see, what would be a big place? Well, we'll take Western State Lunatic Asylum. Going there, you have all these patients that were killed there and all these spirits that haunt the floors. That stuff is really, really cool. Don't get me wrong. And yes, I am dying to get to a location like that. But what if you were to investigate this old cabin on a Revolutionary War battleground where supposedly at night you can see ghost soldiers marching across the field? It doesn't sound as big, but to me, it just sounds a bit cooler. Where I was like, it's the idea of going to a small location not many people have been to, the chance to see something really cool if it's true. I mean, that just sounds cool. But I investigated St. Albans. I had a blast. That was from about 8 p.m. until 1 a.m. And it was funny. There was a really bad storm. It was more of a windstorm. I think the wind gusts were up to like 62 miles an hour. And it was funny because the power was going out. And we'd be in this big old safe room where everyone can meet, have food, get coffee, drinks, socialize, stuff like that, talk about the night's events. And the lights kept going on, and it just suited the mood perfectly. And so after then, me and my dad, we just decided that was it. We decided that was it. This is what we are going to devote our time to. And so we went back to St. Albans on Friday the 13th of May. And holy crap, it was insane. And when you do these public investigations, I was kind of leery about doing it because usually with public investigations, you're always stuck in a big, gigantic group. And there's a few people there that want to do a serious investigation. But usually, most of the time, people there just want to walk around this scary building in the dark with their flashlights going, ooh, ooh, what was that? Oh no, that's scary. But that was my always concern with doing a public investigation. But the way they did it, I don't know if they do this in other locations since I've only done it at St. Albans, but they do a great job of splitting the groups up into people who take it seriously and then the people who are more there to have fun. And so when we investigated on May the 13th, we went into different areas because it's a gigantic building. Gigantic. I can't remember the square footage it is, but it's in the thousands. But obviously, when you go there, you have different areas that you go to. I think it's 6 areas, and you spend 45 minutes at each. It's something like that. But pretty much what it is like, for example, you go down to the bowling alley. That's pretty much a basement area. So you get the boiler room, a bathroom, a stairwell, a short hallway, and the bowling alley. And that is your area. You stay in that area and you can investigate any location in that area for 45 minutes. And after 45 minutes, go to safe room, wait around for like 10 minutes, and then you go to another. And it's pretty much rinse and repeat. But going back May 13th, it was ominous. It was creepy. There was more of a, I don't want to just come out and say a demonic vibe, but it was a very negative vibe going on. Saw some really freaky stuff, these weird deformed things, and had a crazy encounter in one of the hallways, but I will actually do a video separate on that because it was just so interesting. But having these 2 investigations under my belt, it just got me hungry for more and more. And me being the type person I am, especially since I'm out of school, it's summer vacation, I'm actually debating on staying out of school, just being homeschooled, so that I can focus more on the paranormal studies and my podcast full time, not being hindered by school and all that stuff. And so, getting these locations, I actually found one of my old lists that I had made in like 2013, and it was 10 locations that I wanted to investigate. And it had places like Cowpens Battlefield in South Carolina. It had Guilford Courthouse. It had Lake Shawnee. Had Hatfield Family Cemetery in Logan, West Virginia. It had St. Albans, and it had a few other locations. I can't remember. But out of all the ones on that list, the only ones I'd actually been to was Lake Shawnee. I didn't really investigate, but I visited, and that was a really cool place. And I visited a Indian burial mound in West Virginia, and that was a fun mess. But I was thinking with the paranormal, it got me thinking. There's paranormal movies that come out. It seems like every few years. Like now, I know the big one at the box office that's lording over all the others is The Conjuring 2, based off the Enfield poltergeist, which was Ed and Lorraine Warren case. And I've met Lorraine Warren. And so I was like, holy crap. I was like, I know Lorraine Warren. Who was there? And so it also gets me worried because on one side, yes, it exposes more people to the field. It gives them somewhat of a taste of what it's like, but it shows off, I think, the Hollywood version of the field. And so these people, and it's usually teenagers, but adults do it too. They see this and they're like, wow, that looks intense. I want to experience that. And they don't take the proper precautions. They think they can go to these locations without informing anyone, without getting permission, and just saying, where's all the ghosts? Ghost, are you here? Here, come possess me, or something like that. And what usually happens, one of two things either happens. Either someone gets hurt / possessed, or they end up getting caught by the police, or especially in cemeteries, this happens, and it pisses me off that they vandalize graves to try and provoke a response. And I'm sorry, if you mess with a gravestone, you are the lowest scum on the earth. I visited a cemetery over Memorial Weekend. We were putting flowers on some of my family members' graves and my great grandfather and all that stuff. And I saw graves of Revolutionary War soldiers. And these graves were from like 1789, 1804, and stuff like that. But their tombstones had just been crumbled and just destroyed, like cut in half. And it wasn't by nature. It hadn't been weathered by nature, cut by lightning. It was people. People were just being scum, like they are, trying to impress their friends. And sometimes when movies like The Conjuring, Paranormal Activity, or stuff like that comes out, it kind of worries me a little bit because I start thinking, oh no, we're going to experience a time when things are going to get vandalized. Like 2 years ago, that big plantation house in Louisiana, I think it was, burned down because people, like I just described, went in, thought they could go in there, and they end up burning down an old plantation. And it's stuff like that that pisses me off. But hopefully when these people get into it, they're legitimately into it. They're not into it for a thrill. Like I said, there's difference between ghost hunters, paranormal investigators. For me, it's ghost hunters are in it for the thrill. Paranormal investigators take um, more of a concerned approach, as if they're actually invested in it. And so, some of the upcoming things that's going on June the 18th, which is in 5 days, there is the Virginia Paracon at the Exchange Hotel. And hopefully I'm able to go to that one, but that's going to be fun. I've never been to the Exchange Hotel, but from what I've read and heard, it used to be an old Civil War hospital. And me, I'm a sucker for Civil War history, and I love that stuff. So hopefully I'll be able to get to go. But even if I don't go, I highly suggest that you all need to go there. Because first off, you get to go check out a cool location, take nice pictures. You get to meet other people who are passionate about this field, and you get to, like I do, I love to bounce ideas off different people, kind of gauge what the general ideas of the paranormal are, what everyone thinks, what everyone's opinions are, their experiences, and that's what stuff that builds this field up. It's kind of going back to the whole paranuity thing, because sometimes people, they see the paranuity and they're like, well, why should we help others if they're not going to help us? And it's just that kind of thing that doesn't progress the field, it regresses the field, and it just pisses me off. And it pisses me off also the people who go in for the money. Like they see the shows like Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, Dead Files, whatever it is, and they're like, that just looks easy. We can do that. And I'm not firing shots here, but there's shows which will not be named that was on the Travel Channel and History Channel. I'm looking at different type of monster shows out there, but I think they took a bit of a dorky approach to it, and that's just my opinion. Other people may have loved those shows. It's just my kind of thing. I found it kind of hokey. I just think that people will see these shows. These people are making all this money, and they also look into the idea of faking evidence, which the fake evidence, you're pretty much at the very bottom of the totem pole. In fact, you're probably off the totem pole, and you're not even looking at it. But evidence, trying to get in it for the money, trying to get in it to tear other people down. Like if you're set on a crusade that no matter what, you're going to prove these people wrong, whether or not your theories make sense or not. I mean, that's just what. But the uh, paranormal field as of 2016, I think the article is published that says the paranormal field is dying, paranormal research is dying, it's not believable. It's like, no. It's just, there will be times when it goes under the radar. There will be times when it's out for the public to see on full display. And I do think that films like The Conjuring and all this stuff, I think that helps spotlight the paranormal field a little bit better. And I think overall, I'm talking bad about movies about the paranormal stuff, but I do think for the most part they do play a big part in a light being casted on whether it's paranormal field, cryptozoology, anything. They do help it because it makes exposure. And the more people that are exposed, the more people that'll get into it, the more people that'll believe it. And that's just good. Because I'm convinced if we would have had the technology we have now back in the 1960s, or not even necessarily the technology, I mean, more of the acceptance of this kind of stuff back in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, whatever, I think stuff like Bigfoot, UFOs, maybe ghost spirits, all that stuff, that would just be accepted now. I just think people would be like, okay, it's there. But that brings up another issue. If they finally prove this stuff, whether it be ghosts, Bigfoot, aliens, Loch Ness monster, anything, if they prove once and for all that it exists, what's going to happen? Are a lot of people just going to stop investigating it? Because, like, well, there's nothing to investigate. I was like, well, instead of investigating to see if it's real, now you're going to learn. It's like, okay, you're going to this location to find this object. You found the object. That means that just leave the object there and just walk away. No, you study the object. You learn as much as you can about it. You're like, well, I noticed this behavior and this behavior. That makes sense because years ago people were talking about it was doing this, and it confirms those reports. Especially if you're up on your research about whatever it is. I think when that time comes, whether it be in the next few years, whether it be in 100 years, 1,000 years, whatever, that will be a very telling moment because the groups that are serious, whether it be paranormal, zoology, whatever, I'm talking about all these in general, you can tell the real ones because when this stuff is finally proven to be real for the public and the public accept continue their research and helping people, or will they just disband and just cease to exist? And that's proving ground. But like I said, to wrap this up, pretty much rambling, but I just had to get my thoughts out. I've been 2 years like this, so I just wanted to do it. But I do have a radio show coming up this Saturday. That's gonna be a fun one. This Saturday, hopefully I'll be able to. If not, it'll be because I'm at the Virginia Paracon. If I ever go to the Virginia Paracon, I'll be come out and say, "Hey, what's up, man? What's up?" We'll bounce ideas off each other, history, all that stuff. Uh, I know I keep talking about it, but it's gonna be so freaking awesome. Do want to give a shout out to St. Albans. Keep doing what y'all are doing. If you do get a chance, you're or anything like that, check it out. Go to a public event. Investigation, it's just a tour or even a haunted house. It's still really cool to talk to the people, be in the building. History dating back 120 years. Started, a lot of people don't know, St. Albans started as a boys' school. I believe the name was St. Albans Episcopal School. I believe that was the name of it off the top of my head, but that went until 1906 when it closed. Place sat vacant for a while, and then 1916, actually, it's the 100-year anniversary of when the St. Albans became a sanatorium. So, for all my St. Albans friends, that could be a reason why there's so much activity this year. Recently, is more from other years. But yeah, there's be a lot of events coming up. I will try to keep you posted on everything that's going on, all the adventures I'm getting into. For everyone, for my YouTube channel, I will be posting more gameplay videos and vinyl videos hopefully soon. I've just been so busy with different stuff. For Virginia Paranormal Researcher fans, I will be articles and stuff on, what's that name? My mind just went blank. On Blogger, I will be doing a few articles, kind of like this, but only in a written version. I will share links to that. For people from the Hour of Enlightenment podcast, my podcast is still going strong. Spread the word. If you're interested in being a guest on the show, either comment below this video or message me or the page, email me, whatever it is. But everyone, I want to thank you all for listening to this. I know it's kind of shaky with my mind taking a stoplight every once in a while. Just about 30 minutes. Had to get it off my chest. And hopefully in 2 years, 2018, I'll do another video on the state of the paranormal. So stay tuned for more information. Like, subscribe, like my page. And I'll see you all later.